Hey guys, this is Tony, and we're back on the bench. And this afternoon, we're going to be diving into an old classic here, and we're going to do a take apart in this video on a vintage Penn Peer Model 209. Okay, so a lot of us know out there, in the fishing world, this is a classic reel. It's been around a long, long time. There's been, several different, renditions of it, so to speak. Different, colored face plates, and some of them say Penn Pier, some of them say 209 level wind. But this is an older generation one here, with the kind of dark maroon, side plates. This one is one I picked up recently for relatively cheap, and it's got a little bit of a roughness to it. I think it just probably needs a cleaning and a take, just taking it all apart, piece by piece. Essentially, it might need some new bushings or something like that. I'm not sure, or maybe a new pawl. We'll see. But we're just going to get into the take apart here, and we're going to do a little cleaning along the way. We're going to talk about the reel. We'll do a separate reassembly video on this one just because of what's involved. I might have to order some parts and whatnot. We can see, there's definitely some salt, damage on this. There is a little bit of corrosion. We're going to see what we can do to clean that up. Okay, so yeah, this reel is still in production, actually. It's not made in USA anymore, but it's still out there, and it's a staple. The 9, the 209, and the 309. Those are the three that have lasted really the longest, I'd say, in Penn's lines, so to speak. And they're just a great all-around general reel. Okay, so we've got our handle. And I remember my uncle having a reel pretty much identical to this. Even the color of the torpedo handle was pretty much the same. And I remember, he always used that thing anytime we'd be fishing out on the bay. And, it's just a classic. You see these all over the place. Relatively inexpensive reel for, for what it is, for the quality that you're getting here. Okay, so we're going to get into these screws here and take those out next. And I think this is going to be a good candidate for some penetrating oil, just with the way that some of these screws are here. So we're just going to spray some of that penetrating oil here on all these screws here. Okay, we're going to let that sink in for a moment. Okay, anytime you're working on a fishing reel that has signs of corrosion damage like that, it's not a bad idea to do that. And we're cleaning this reel up anyway, so we're going to hit it, all these parts with the penetrating oil here. And we'll use some steel wool to get into those and try to clean up the parts the best we can. I'm hoping not to have to dump parts into this reel. I'm hoping I can just get it restored and functioning properly. I also noticed turning the handle that there's no dog clicking. So my guess is that either the spring is misaligned or it's damaged or something to that effect. Okay, so but the 209 was my first Penn reel that my dad bought me when I was young, and I still have that reel to this day, and it's a workhorse. It's solid. And the 209s were offered with saltwater reel seats as well as freshwater rod reel seats, whereas they're narrower towards the points there to put on, basically smaller, poles that are designed for freshwater, fishing, like freshwater trolling perhaps, or something like that. So make note, you've got two shorter screws at the base here that go into that reel seat. Okay. That WD-40 is helping us here take these screws out a lot easier, so that's a good sign. The screws look like they're in relatively good shape, so that's good. Okay, so we've got our handle side taken off here. We're going to take our spool off. We can see that we've got this old vintage line on here. Probably going to pull this off. I'm not sure. It's got a lot of dust on it. But I remember this is how, it used to be. You'd go to the stores and stuff and you'd see, fishing line that was like this aquamarine blue color. And, it was always really pretty to look at. So we're going to set that off to the side for right now. And we're going to have a look in here at all of our innards here. So we've got our worm gear, and we want to take a look at this pawl here and inspect this. Now the cool thing about these reels, the older ones at least, is they actually came with a spare pawl embedded in the side plate here. They put a little pocket in here where you could keep a spare pawl. So if you happen to, need one on the fly, when you're out on the water, you could change it. The only downside to it is that it's not always easy to change stuff like that. If you're on a boat, you really need to sit down at least at a table or something like that. All right, so we're looking at the pawl here. It doesn't look too bad. We're going to clean it. Looks like it's in good shape though, considering its age. It's not too bad. But we're going to take all those parts out and we're going to clean all that stuff up like so. Get that WD-40 working in there. Okay, now for the rest of this here, we've got this plastic, idler gear here. You want to check the teeth and check the condition of all that stuff there. Okay, being that we really want to do, a full cleaning on all of this stuff, we're going to take this side of the reel apart as well. If it was just a normal service, we probably wouldn't resort to that so much. Okay, but we want to do that in this case just for good measure. We'll take our bushing out here. Okay, we're going to clean that off like so. We're going to see how hard these are to take out of the frame posts. Those out. I'll take this one out here. And what I'm probably going to end up doing is I'm going to do a lot of cleaning off camera, and then we'll come back in the separate, reassembly video for this reel, and we'll talk about the cleaning that was done and the cleaning that was necessary, and the cleaning on the parts, the gears and whatnot. We'll have to look inside here and see what kind of shape the drag stack is in. It might not be in good shape. We might need to replace that. And I find a lot of the time when I'm working with Penn reels, I try to work on multiple Penn reels kind of around the same time, because if I have to order parts, shipping is really, really expensive these days, and so it makes more economical sense to have, multiple, Penn reels that need parts and then order all the parts at once. And I get all that from mysticparts.com. They're great. They're very helpful and informative. Okay, so we've got all this taken apart here, and then we just need to get this side ring out, and normally it'll come out relatively easy like it just did. If it doesn't, you might need to spray some more penetrating oil in there and let that work its way in there, okay? But this is what we want to look at here. All right, and we just want to, inspect all this area here. Okay, and we're going to hit that with some WD-40. It appears I'm starting to run out here. Okay, but we're going to let that soak in. Get all these parts in here, as well as these parts and these screws and all that. And we're just going to hose it all down with a little bit more of that, like so. Put that off to the side, and now we can get into this side here. Okay, we should be able to pop that ring out as well. Okay, doesn't look too bad in here. It's very dry. This reel probably hasn't ever been serviced, I'm guessing, perhaps. So we'll see here in a little bit what this really looks like. So you've got 4 screws, and the 2 top ones on the bridge are partially threaded screws that go through 2 springs. for your pinion yoke assembly. And then the two lower ones are fully threaded screws. But the good thing about these reels is that you can still get a lot of the parts. They're still available, and there's plenty of parts reels available, just because there were so many of these made over the years. And the design really didn't change that much. There was a point where they were not made in the USA anymore, and they were made overseas in China, I believe. And yes, the quality of those materials are not as good. Okay. And you just want to be careful when you do this because you don't know what's going to go flying loose. So this is what I wanted to look at here was the dog spring. It's really hard to see. It's very small. Okay. But all in all, this doesn't really look too bad. It just looks really dry. It's just simply very dry. So we've got our dog here. Looks like we got some old grease on the dog tongue. That's okay. That's nothing unusual. And we've got our drag stack and our main gear and our bridge. We're going to have a look at that in just a moment here. Okay, so we've got some parts here. Got our pinion yoke and eccentric lever. Take that out. Yeah, it's all very clean. We're just going to clean it up a little bit more, for what it's worth. And, we're going to get all those parts cleaned up and accounted for. Just go around to all these things here. Let that work its way in. Okay. Then we've got our bridge here and our bridge shaft, and we need to get that pin out. We always like to do this as part of the service on, pretty much any reel that has that kind of assembly, and you should be able to punch it out with the help of a punch like this. If you can get it to stick out just enough where you can take it out, you might need the help of some pliers, some needle nose pliers to do that. Like these. Let's see if we can get this out. Okay, it comes out like that. And we're going to clean all this up, of course, and make it real flush and plumb and shiny. Make note that you've got this spacer washer that rides underneath that bridge there. Gonna hose those down with some WD-40 as well. And then we've got our drag stack. So we've got a tension spring. And we're going to see what kind of shape this stuff is in here. So we got the tension washer. We've got these appear to be actually the original leather washers. And I'm going to have a look at these closer and see if they really should be changed or not. They don't look like they're in terrible shape, really. But what happens is they start to fuse themselves to the metal washers over time, especially when the star wheel hasn't been backed off. These actually don't look like they're in bad shape. I might have some replacements that I can put in there. I'm going to have to look in my boxes and see what I have. But I have seen worse. When they get cracked, that's when it's a problem. But you could also upgrade this just to a modern HT100 set, these 3 drag washers here. I'm going to look and see if I have any available. I might have some kicking around here. But you want to inspect the teeth on here. They all look, not too bad, really. We just need a cleaning, basically, on this gear set. So we're going to do that next. We're going to hose that down with a little bit of WD-40. All right, and all these parts here as well, just to clean all that up. Okay, and so what we're going to do next is, off camera, we're going to spend some time with some 4-0 steel wool. Okay, and we're going to be cleaning up these chromed pieces here like such. Letting that WD-40 work its way in there okay, and then scrubbing off with that 4O steel wool and getting it to a part, where it's more shiny. Yeah, we're still going to have some pitting damage. That's just par for the course. That's what happens with these reels, okay? But these rings are totally usable. The reel is totally usable. There's nothing mechanically wrong with it, really, so far that we can see. But we're going to spend some time with some toothbrushes. We're going to clean out all this old grease, some household Q-tips, things of that sort. Okay, we're going to get all this stuff cleaned up, and then we'll come back in a reassembly video, and we're going to put it back together, and we're going to see if it functions a little better and sounds a little better and looks a little better. So thanks again for watching. This is Tony with Back on the Bench. If you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please make sure you do subscribe and hit the notification button. That way you will get all the updates as to when there are new videos coming out. And shortly, you will be finding that there's a reassembly video coming out on this Penn Peer 209. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you next time.